KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger, a public affairs program featuring stories from all over the Central Valley with Sevag Tateosian, 90.7 KFSR.
I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Welcome to the Central Valley Ledger. We're recording out of the beautiful downtown Fresno studios of the Community Media Access Collaborative, Fresno Clovis. Our guest this week is Vang. Song is with an organization called Fresno Metro Ministries. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the organization you're with, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm the project manager for the Food to Share program at Fresno Metro Ministry. And so I started actually building that project out of Metro. It really started from the work that I had done at Fresno State. Was one of the co-founders of the Fresno State Food Recovery Network as a senior, and really looked at the food insecurity issues on our campus. And really from those efforts that we started recovering food. In the first 2.5 months we recovered over 14,000 pounds of food from our residence dining hall and the farmers market, the Manchester Farmers Market. And just from all those efforts that we did, it kind of evolved into Food to Share.
And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. What made you decide to go to Fresno State?
Really, Fresno State, so I'm born and raised here in Fresno, and I always knew that Fresno State would be one of the key colleges that I would look into. And after really looking into Fresno State and just being able to be close to home always helps, but also seeing the diverse groups and opportunities that's offered there, that's how I decided that Fresno State would be where I would.
Are you glad you went there?
I did, and I am. Definitely all the opportunities of being part of the Janaba Richter Center as their ambassador. So talking about service learning, about community service, and then being part of the humanics program with Dr. Njidian, and then being part of different groups has just opened a lot of opportunities.
So you graduated already, correct?
Yes.
How did you end up at Fresno Metro Ministries?
Yeah, so after I graduated with a double major in linguistics and deaf education, with the emphasis in civic education and also in sociology. So, and with different certificates of humanics and everything. After graduating from that, I knew that I wanted to be part of the community. I didn't know where and how that would fit, but the opportunity came when Metro said, we need a project manager for Food to Share, and expanding the work that I was already doing at the Fresno Metro, or at the Food Recovery Network. And so with that work, it kind of just transitioned into the opportunity at Metro.
So you get to Metro, and tell us about your first day.
First day, it was a challenge because since we're starting, not brand new, but starting really looking at a Fresno County wide project instead of just looking specifically when we were as a student or organization club, we're just looking at our student population. But looking on a broader scale now on Fresno County, we really had to look at the efforts of what are the other organizations and churches and faith-based organizations, who is out there, who's doing amazing work and feeding our community already, have food programs, hot meals. How do we connect with them and build that base, and then from them expand and help them supplement what they're doing? So with us, with Food to Share, it's always about relationship building. And it's always about looking at our assets in our community and making sure that we're all communicating and connecting.
Did you find people were helpful?
Yeah, surprisingly. A lot of people, they were willing to help, and they were willing to really answer questions and give me suggestions of where I should do or where I should go, and it was great.
Talk about Metro Ministries a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about Metro Ministries a little bit. What does this organization do?
So our organization is learning, connecting, and engaging to connect, to create healthy people and healthy places.
Important work.
Yes, it's definitely important work. And two specific projects that we work on is called the Better Blackstone. So Better Blackstone is looking at how we can help with the Better Blackstone quarters, of helping with the residents, having a voice to know what their rights are, and then helping with the businesses owners too, of how we can connect residents and businesses together to have a voice, really. And then there's Food to Share. Food to Share encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses really our gleaning program. It encompasses our school recovery programs. It also is about food distributions, and then we do gardens too. So it's a really huge component to everything we do.
So let's just dive into Food to Share.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say that?
So Food to Share, it's really about how we can recover and look at the food waste that we have.
So food waste meaning food that we're not eating?
Yeah, so it's edible food, but also food that is spoiled or can't be used to be consumed. So Food to Share really comes as looking at the different food streams that we have. Because I don't know if you know, not locally, but on a national level, 40% of food that we grow is thrown away. It gets eventually, because of the production process or the delivery process or anything like that. So that's 40% of food, which actually is over $165 billion worth of money we're throwing away.
$165 billion we're throwing away?
Yes, and that's what it equates to. And I mean, that's a staggering number, right? In addition to the food waste, Fresno is the 5th most food insecure city in the whole U.S.
And by food insecure, you mean what?
So being food insecure meaning that you don't know where your next meal is going to be. You
Scary
don't have,
stuff.
It is scary. And in addition to that, 1 out of 3 children here in Fresno go hungry on a daily basis too. So those are just staggering numbers. And with all of that, there's a missing link of, well, if 40% of food is wasted, how can we, as Food to Share, how can we connect those two? Because our food system's broken, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a missing link that needs to be done. So Food to Share comes in, we look at what's the food that is edible, we recover that, and then redistribute that to over 80 different food receiver organizations that we work with to help augment and help them build their capacity. And then in addition, we've connected with Colony Energy and Caglia, which has an anaerobic digester that they're building that can convert any spoiled food into renewable energy and biofuels. So it's really an awesome component of looking at ensuring food that is edible gets given to the community that needs it and our residents that need the food, and then the other stream is being repurposed.
So this is the program you're working on?
Yes.
How did you find the people that have the food not being consumed?
Yeah, it's really multiple components, multiple partnerships, and multiple people that worked hard to make all these connections happen. It was through partnerships with from Fresno State, the sociology department. The opportunity really arose when an application to connect with Caglia to get to apply for a federal grant to look at how we can decrease our food waste.
Let me stop you there. By Caglia Environmental, you're talking about like a private company, right?
Yeah.
So like you're partnering with just a private company as well.
We are. So, and that's kind of the beauty about Food to Share. It's really looking at private companies, looking at different components of the food system to see how we can be more efficient in the work that we do. And it doesn't really matter if it's a private sector or a public sector, everybody can contribute and be part of the solution.
So I heard Fresno Unified and Central Unified somehow are involved in this. Talk about how that partnership developed and what their role is.
Yeah, what's amazing is that in 2016, we were working with the Board of Trustees at Central Unified School District and working really closely and seeing how we can have a food recovery program. There's actually a lot of food that goes wasted. And Yes.
How does it get wasted? So is this from cafeteria food?
It is. A lot of it is from cafeteria food, and there's different components and factors that go into play. It could be a lot of times they order what is expected, and then the kids are on a field trip. And they didn't inform the cafeteria ladies that, oh, all the sixth graders are gone, and so all that food would be thrown away. Or a lot of times just the food, the kids just won't eat. Or there's different factors.
So I'm picturing, and correct me if I'm wrong, a kitchen at like one of these schools having trays of food that are clean but cooked.
So it depends on if it's an elementary or a middle school or anything. Middle schools are doing hot meals. So a lot of times these meals are actually individually packaged, and it is hot in middle schools. When it's a cold, we call it cold pack, right? It could be crackers, it could be cantaloupe, and really everything. Everything is always packaged and individually sectioned out so that a child that is going to receive it, they have the right portions for each meal that they're having, a breakfast or lunch.
If I'm hungry, I would love to have some of these leftovers that are clean because, you order for 1,000 and maybe 800 show up.
Yeah.
Well, that's 200 meals. So if I come to you and say I have 200 meals, what would you do with it?
So if you're saying if you were at the school?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that happens, what we would do as Food to Share is we will come and recover that food. And then we are connected with over 80 different organizations and receivers. So we have an actual website that helps in the notification of this and really using technology, right? Because it's at our hands. What we could do is post that and say there's 200 meals and any of our receiver organizations, so that could be Poverello House, the Fresno Rescue Mission, who we work very closely with. They can say, oh yeah, we can use those 200 meals. They're gonna accept it. And it really comes down to, we can go and pick it up and deliver, or if they're able to, then they can go pick that up.
So I'm just visualizing this a little bit because I'm excited about this program, first of all. I'm visualizing Metro Ministry staff going up to like Central Unified Schools, picking up the food and taking it to Poverello House. What have you heard so far about the program?
It's been amazing. So not only are we working with Central Unified, but we're also working with Fresno Unified School District. What's amazing about Central Unified School District is we got through the Board of Trustees and they wanted us to go to all 23 schools that they work with. So as right now we work with 3 schools, just working with the logistics of that. And we schedule them out actually every single week. So we pick it up once or twice a day, or once or twice a week, I'm sorry. But with Fresno Unified, what's been great is with an MOU with connections and partnerships with Community Food Bank and the Fresno Unified School District. We've been recovering with 15 other schools, and the cafeteria ladies are just ecstatic. I mean, they're just like, usually we just throw all of this food away, and in 1 week we recover over 5,000 pounds of food.
How did this come up? I mean, I know you touched on it a little bit, but who would have thought that, a nonprofit in Fresno is going to go pick up leftover food from somewhere, and by leftover, I mean clean, untouched food from somewhere, and then deliver it to others in need.
Yeah. I feel like it just kind of came to be, we saw the need in our community, and it's really about making those linkage, right? Realizing that there is all this food that's being thrown away, and it really was through the partnerships and relationships that we built through Metro and through the different connections with Community Food Bank and then with the schools. Like, it's all about relationship, and it's all about being able to sit down and have those conversations about, there is all this food. We would love to recover that food, but also show that it is going to be in good use.
Do you envision that one day you will have enough staff to go out and pick up all of the food? Because right now, there's a lot of schools out there, and you're not getting to all of them. Is that the goal?
That is a goal. I mean, we're currently right now we're trying to raise funds, and as you know, being a CBO and community benefit organization, we're always trying to build our capacity, and so definitely we have one driver, one big cargo van, and sometimes even I use my car, right? So we do what we can to make it happen, but yeah, definitely we want to be able to recover all this food and really give it out to our community.
You have a lot of energy when you're talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
You have a lot of passion. Why? I mean, why do you care so much?
Well, I care so much. It's because I've been there. Growing up, my parents took us to Poverello House, going to get meals. And as a child, I mean, I didn't know that I was missing. I didn't know that, I was food insecure, right? I didn't know these labels. I'm like, I'm happy. I had what I needed. I can't complain. And then realizing, really in college, realizing that food insecurity is something that you can't visually see, right? A lot of times you go through things, and even working with when we were at Fresno State, really building this and building this model that we kind of translate into Food to Share, some of the leaders, they were going through food insecurity, so not knowing where their next meal was going through, and they didn't feel that they could share that, because being food insecure, there's a lot of stigma about that.
Right.
So it's trying to also educate our community, right? That there's nothing wrong. It's just, it's an issue, and what can we do to have a solution to that? So even building on that and realizing when I was in college that there's a label, and realizing that I don't want that for my child, and I don't want that for my community. I want to eventually be like, we don't have a food insecurity issue, because we produce so much even here in Fresno County. We shouldn't have this issue, but we do.
We have a lot of neighborhoods that are food deserts.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what a food desert is? And it could be a neighborhood next to where we're living.
Yeah, it's true, actually. So a food desert, there's 12 that's been indicated by the USDA. And being a food desert means that within a mile to 10-mile radius, there is no access to a grocery store. So actually, for example, Fresno State is actually in a food desert. If you think about it, there's not a rural supermarket that's close by, that's in walkable distance from it. And if there is, it's most likely drugstores and convenience stores. And even with that, the prices of like milk, like a gallon of milk is like twice the amount you would get at a grocery store. So that's what being in a food desert means. And we've specifically worked in 9.
9?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about who else you're working with to gather food. So we've talked about the schools. Anybody else?
So we do, so in addition to the food recovered from to schools, we do food distribution. So in partnership with Community Food Bank, we connect with building the relationships capacities in like Fresno Center for New Americans. Right now at Rapto Divino, it's a local church. So working and bringing more food of that. In addition to that, we do gleanings. So we actually do backyard gleanings, which is exciting because I mean, I don't know if you have a fruit tree in the back of your yard, but I do, and I don't go through that. And so being able to get a phone call, and a lot of residents can just say, I would like you to come and pick our trees, and we go and we bring all our materials and we pick it. And even one tree, I remember one tree, we gleaned over 200 pounds.
Wow, off of one tree.
Out of one tree, and oranges.
So how does that work? So let's say I have 10 nectarine trees in my backyard. I call you, and then what?
You call me, then I'll schedule you.
So you come so what do you do with it?
Yeah, so what's exciting, so you call and say, I have 10 trees, right? I will look at our schedule and look at when we can go out there. And we will set a time, and we will also get the volunteers out there. So we bring our buckets, our pickers, our ladders, and we go out there. So we pick all of that, and then so now that we've done it, we know how much we'll eventually get. And from that, because actually with 10 trees, you get about easily 1,000 pounds of that nectarine that you're talking about. But with that, then we distribute that and give it to different organizations that can use it.
Talk about volunteers a little bit, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and it sounds very labor intensive. So I bet you volunteers come very handy to your organization. What do they do, and what do you use them for?
Well, there's different capacities and different ways that we can use them. And so it really comes down to working with our volunteers to know what they're interested in and what they want to do. So volunteers can do with gleaning, so they can actually pick the fruit, right? They can come to our food distribution to actually bag food into bags and then hand that to residents. So working one-on-one of that. We also do intake forms and really working with residents. A lot of times being bilingual is fantastic because the residents that we're working with are monolingual. And so many are Hmong and Spanish speakers, so help with that. And then currently we're also going to be doing Cooking Matters, which is a cooking course that I haven't been touched on. And it's a 6-week cooking course that we could definitely use dietetics and health experts to help, and also cooking experts too.
You partner with a lot of organizations.
Yes.
I know you partner with the health department.
Yeah.
And many others. How important are these partnerships for you?
It's critical. It's really because we're so connected and so partnered and so together, we don't have to duplicate services. We don't have to strain ourselves to try to do so many things, because through our partnerships, we can say, you know, there's this great need. How can we help you? But also, how can you help us? And so it's really looking at the assets, right? With the Department of Health, it's really learning about the statistics, knowing about all the data that, we can definitely look that up, but being able to partner, it's amazing of that sort. Even partnering, one of our partners is like Blue Sky, who comes and volunteers. They bring easily 10 volunteers every single time we do a food giveaway, because it happens once a month. And so really working, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without our partnerships.
Yeah, it would cost your organization a lot more money too if you would have had to pay for all these. So how can people volunteer?
Well, they can call us at 485-1416 or email me at song@fresnometmin.org, and we can get them connected.
So you talked about something, cooking.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the cooking program.
Yeah. So through the work, specifically at our food distributions, we were able to put actually a component of actually showing, we try to do at least once a month, a food demonstration. So using the food that we would give at food distributions, like carrots, a lot of times there's lettuce, tangerines. How can we incorporate healthy food for these community residents? We came to realize that yes, you can, drop off all this food, but you can't expect them to know what to do with it, because maybe they're just gonna deep fry it, right? Mm-hmm. So for us, we wanted to educate. We knew that we can provide this food, but we also need to teach them and educate them. So through our cooking demos, so like for example, I love this one, is when we were in St. Rest, which is west of Fresno.
A church out on the west side?
Yes, on the west side. And we were simply grilling peaches on the grill. And just simply drizzling balsamic vinegar on it. But a resident came up and said, I've never had grilled peaches. This is fantastic. Like, I can't believe that I've never tried this before. And just that alone, it was just kind of eye-opening of, we take certain things like that for granted. I grew up, I'm like, that's what, you can do that. Like, you heat food and you can grill, but not everybody gets to experience that. And so from cooking demos, it kind of evolved into Cooking Matters. So with Cooking Matters is a national, it's actually not a national program, that it's a 6-week course. And with that, what we're teaching community residents and those that we're working with is, how can you create healthy meals on a budget? Because when you have these conversations, a lot of times they're like, well, all right, if I go to get quinoa, that's going to cost me like $5,
And that's
right?
a valid point. That's a very valid point, because some of these healthy foods are expensive.
They are, but surprisingly, if you go to Winco and go to the bulk section, it's only maybe $1 a pound. And so really educating them, and you can, with quinoa, you can add vegetables. You can add, certain like protein to it to really build up a good meal, and really teaching community residents. So like quinoa's definitely, so introducing them to different foods that they wouldn't know, different grains, but also teaching, all right, if having quesadilla, right? If you have tortilla, you can actually put peanut butter and make it almost peanut butter and bananas on that. And that can be a breakfast tortilla. So kind of being creative, and then incorporating different opportunities that they can do that.
So I want to get back to the peaches, because now that you've talked about the peaches, And our audience wants to know, so do you cut the peaches and grill them, or how does that work?
You do. So you cut the peaches right in half,
Okay.
and then you grill both sides until it gets, pretty warm. Not through, but at least it's been at least warm to the touch. And then, you can just put a little balsamic vinegar. And then you can eat it with ice cream if you want.
I haven't had that, so I'm going to be like the participant who came up and said that, I've never tried this. So I have not had grilled peaches with balsamic. How does that taste?
Really? Well, okay. So it's kind of the sweet and salty, and we added a little mint to that, so it had like a herb taste to it, and it's almost, I don't know how to explain it well.
We're going to have to try it.
You're going to have to do that.
So now the audience members, I want to encourage audience members to grill peaches and add a little bit of vinegar, balsamic vinegar to it.
Yes, you're going to have to try it.
Tell us how people can get in touch with your organization, or you said there's a website that they can go to. Tell us about the website.
Definitely. So you can go to www.foodtoshare.org, or going to our Fresno Metro Ministries website is fresnometmin.org. It's also where you can go and get more information. But also giving us a call. We're always happy to answer any questions.
What do you need from us? So what can the audience help you with?
There's multiple levels and multiple things. One is definitely volunteering. Two is definitely we're always trying to get connected with different farmers, really different farmers, but also homeowners that have trees that need cleaning. And then, always funding is always important too. And we're going to be doing almost a campaign coming up soon that we want to be reaching out to multiple different people. So we can always use help in that and support in that too.
In 10 years from now, we're running out of time real fast. 10 years from now, are we going to be a better community?
We are.
Thank you so much for coming on this program.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this edition of the Central Valley Ledger. We've been recording out of the beautiful downtown Fresno studios of the Community Media Access Collaborative Fresno Clovis. Our guest has been Vang with Fresno Metro Ministries. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this production and every production possible. They are in the studio making us look and sound good as we speak. Thank you also to those watching this broadcast on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. Thank you also to those listening on 90.7 FM, KFSR Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Tune in next week to a new edition.
KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger every Sunday morning at 11:30. For a complete program schedule, visit kfsr.org.